Continue our media availability here at Martinsville Speedway, and certainly a driver that is no stranger to victory lane here at Martinsville. Denny Hamlin joins us. He's the driver of the number 11 FedEx Freight Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny, you've had quite a week. Good to see you. How you feeling?
Feel good. Definitely ready to get going here.
Very good. We'll take some questions now for Denny. If you have one, raise your hand, and we'll call on you and bring you the wireless mic. We'll start here with Alan and then go to Bob.
Alan Cavana, NASCAR.com. I don't know how much importance you always place on practice week to week, but this week in particular, after missing last week's race, I mean, how important was it to come out and set the fastest lap here in Martinsville, if there were any doubters?
Well, it wasn't a goal to go out there and be first in practice. You know, we didn't set out to. Of course, it's a goal for everyone, but it's not something that we put extra effort on, especially practice. But it obviously shows that we're very capable of winning the race this weekend, and I'm pretty sure we will.
Go ahead, Bob, front row.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Did you say on TV that that metal had actually rusted in your eye? Okay.
Yep.
And would this impact whether you'll go back to the care center again? I mean, because it seems like you, from at least what JD said last week, that you guys thought you weren't to the point where you thought you weren't going to be able to race.
Yeah, I didn't think we were. You know, I literally thought on Friday that I was starting to get a sty. It happened sometime during practice, whether it came in through the car or through the AC unit, through the helmet, something. It came in through somewhere, but I don't remember the exact time when it happened. But you know, Friday evening, definitely felt an agitation right in the corner to my upper eyelid, and so I thought I was getting a sty because it just felt like one. And then Saturday, I woke up. It was a little worse. I went ahead and ran through practice. Vision was fine, but just a lot of watering, and I didn't see any swelling of the eyelid, so I knew it wasn't a sty at that point. So I didn't go to the infield care center until late on Saturday. Me and my girlfriend went to the mall. We were shopping around, and it was bothering me so much. I contacted one of the NASCAR liaisons and asked if anyone was still at the infield care center. They said they'd wait on me, so they waited on me. And so they looked at it, they dyed it, they put it under a black light. Didn't see any scratches, didn't see anything in the eye. So immediately we started trying to figure out what would be causing it, if there's nothing in it. And so the only thing I could think of is I was starting to actually get a little bit stuffy on my left-hand side of my face, and my nose was running a little bit. So I mentioned to him, trying to cover all the possibilities, that I showed him a CT scan from January where I had a really, really bad sinus infection. I mean, it was the worst the doctor's ever seen, and Petty's been around a really, really long time. So he said it's the worst he's ever seen. So we took some antibiotics for a couple weeks. I started feeling better, and so I never went back to him to get a scan, which I probably should have went back to Petty in January after I took all the antibiotics and felt better. I just assumed if I feel better, more than likely it's gone. So the only other option is I went to bed Saturday night, woke up Sunday, and felt twice as worse. Pain was twice as worse, and vision was slightly impaired over where it was Saturday. So I stayed in the info care center for a couple hours, and we tried to go through all the possibilities of what it could be, and really since they didn't see anything in it, the only thing we could do is get an optometrist to come to the racetrack, which it was too late into the day for that. It was too late for me to go to one and come back in time. So everyone came to an agreement that the best thing for me was to go to the hospital and get scanned in case there's tons of different possibilities, whether it would be a blood clot, anything that affects, because there's more to it, but anytime wind would hit my eye, it would shoot a pain right to my temple. So they thought that there was something really bad going on behind the eye that they didn't have the equipment in the infield care center. You need you need to get a CT scan. No track has that, and it won't ever have that. It's something that the only way they were going to know is to put me through another scan and see. But by the time I got to the hospital, an optometrist came in with her microscope, saw the metal, got it out. A portion of it, she couldn't get the rust out. She said it would need a couple more days for that to harden to get out. But once the metal came out, I felt a lot better. We went home. The CT scan showed I was perfectly clear on the sinus part of it, which is good news. I thought I was going to have to do something about that as well. So I was perfectly good with the sinuses. It was just the metal that was overlooked. But, she had a pretty fancy piece of machine she was looking through to find it. So, long story short, it won't keep me from going to the infield care center at any point. I mean, I wanted to race, of course, no matter what. I felt like if I was going to be a liability, I would have pulled myself during the race. But, there's protocols that we have to go through, and it's not just my safety that has got to be taken into account. I mean, we're racing around other guys, and that's one of the fastest tracks we go to. What if I caused a wreck early on? I don't need to be a liability out there, and obviously with this new format, we hardly lost anything in points. We still have a great shot to win a lot of races from here till the chase. So, take the safe approach. We found out the problem. It was too late by the time we found it. But the staff that looked after me last weekend was the same staff that was in the hospital with me for a few days in California last year. They go above and beyond, and it's unfair to put it on, whether it be the infield care center or nurses that work with NASCAR, put them under responsibility for not finding it, because it took a specialist to find it. There were two separate perfectly good doctors in the infield care center of California that both of them could not see it. It took someone who was in the business of eyes to find it. And so, I mean, it sucks, because I wish I would have got it out on Saturday. I would have been fine for Sunday, but it's part of it. It's just bad luck. Track hates me.
Let's go with Hank. Raise your hand, Hank.
Denny, over here, Hank Kurz with the Associated Press. Can you address how frustrating it has been? Almost every time I've seen you speak in the last year and a half, it's about medical things. On the one hand, just looking from afar, it's almost like you're falling apart, and you're not. It's just things have happened. But, here you are. You want to come to the track, focus on winning races and challenging for the championship and stuff. How frustrating is it when you get this thing on top of all the stuff last year to just have another thing to deal with? And you're probably the only driver that's carrying CT scans around with you.
Yeah. It's frustrating because I'm in great health. I'll play all these drivers in any sport they want to play. I'm in good health. It's just, literally, last year I got in a wreck and I hit the wall at the worst possible spot that broke my back. And this year something somehow flies into my eye in the middle of a race weekend. And two really good doctors, it was so small they couldn't see it. It took, and it just really bad luck on that part of it. But, as far as the health stuff, I feel better than I ever have. Pilates has changed my life as far as my back is concerned. My back is no longer an issue, knock on wood. But, everything's just, you hate getting attention for those reasons, but a lot of it is because we haven't won a whole lot over these last year and a half. We're going to change that this weekend, but it's just, we're getting headlines for reasons we don't like, and you hate to have them for that reason, but we're going to get back on track. And when we do, it can be It can be really good for us and bad for the competition. We just got to get over these little things that are bothering us. I mean, I felt like we had the best car of our teammates for Sunday's race in California, and just never got to get in the car to show it. The 200 cars obviously looked very, very strong, and they were going to be tough to beat. But I was looking forward to that race for a really, really long time, and obviously going to have to wait, one more year again.
Go to Zach and then to Reed Spencer. Zach?
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Denny, how scary was it just to be in the infield care center moments before you were about to go out there and not really knowing what was going on? I mean, there's certain things that you can play through, but vision or something even greater than that, is definitely not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, the toughest part was, obviously, I had an idea that the answer was going to be no. We never really asked, hey, am I okay to race, until we had the meeting with Helton and the other guys. But I knew what the answer was going to be. I wasn't able to leave the care center, and of course, I was getting the idea that they told me to prepare a backup plan just in case. So when I talked to Darian, I told him, I don't know what's going on, but they said to prepare someone else to run. I called, of course, Helton and said, come rescue me out of the Sinfield Care Center and get me out of here and let me race. But, we had a good meeting with him and JD and the two doctors and myself in a room going through all the possibilities. And they felt like the symptoms that I showed at the time, they said, if this was 3 in the morning, we would tell you to go to the hospital right now, not in an hour from now. Go right now, because we don't know if this is something, tumor, any of those things. We don't know what it is, whether the infection got to the back of the eyeball and was affecting my brain, because I was getting those headaches along with it. So they were looking out for me, and you can't fault any group of people. It's hard for me to be selfish saying that I should be able to get in the car no matter what, when they're trying to look out for my best interest.
Reed, and then to the gentleman here in the black shirt. Go ahead, Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Does the new championship format and the possibility of justifiable medical exceptions give you more peace of mind when seeking medical attention? And would it perhaps make it even more likely that you would seek that attention, since you don't have the devastating consequences in the point standing?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, this was topic of discussion for all the teams and drivers in the off season, was whether having a child was going to be an exception or not. They determined no, that wasn't. But with this new concussion policy and all that, with this baseline test that you now have, and some of the hits that we're taking, our cars are going faster than they've ever gone. The hits are a little bit harder than they used to be. So you've got to build in some kind of protective bubble over the drivers when they have an incident that possibly they have to sit out because of concussion and things like that. That would be the most likely reason a driver would have to sit out. My opinion would be concussion. That's going to be the big one going forward. But it's hard to say you can't be part of the championship picture because of something that's relatively out of your control. Your health, and in other sporting events you can miss events and be fine and won't affect what you got going on for as far as the championship's concerned. So I think it was time to update our sport in the direction that it's in now, to where we're not all just going on vacation. You're not allowed to do that. But when something out of the blue. This, Mike Helton explained it to me greatly. Right as soon as we got out of that office, this is why we built this system in place, is for things like this. Your season's not over. He says, go win next weekend. Everything's gonna be fine, and so we'll try to do our best to do that.
And does that make you more likely to basically to have the peace of mind to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any driver. Well, I hope this doesn't keep drivers from going to the infield care center and making sure they're 100% before any event. I mean, it's, drivers are going to drive through being sick and under the flu and things like that. You can do that, but you can't mess with your vision. That's what we've got to go off of when we're driving these cars, and so especially at a racetrack like that, it can't be compromised. Mine was, so hopefully the drivers still will trust in the process that is out there for them.
Let's go to Adam, and then Shannon and Nate. Adam?
It's Adam Haynes for the Danville Register and B. With the new qualifying procedures changing, how big of an effect could that have on this race where your starting position is so important and integral to where you finish?
It's going to be important. I think there's about 4 to 5 pit stalls at this racetrack that are prime real estate, I guess you could say, that you want to be in that group. Obviously, the number 1 is the best pit stall, but there's others that are on timelines that really are beneficial. But we've seen in the past guys come from the back and win. I think that the cream's going to rise to the top of this racetrack no matter what. Your same 5 to 6 guys are going to be in the mix no matter where they start. So, I mean, while it is critical to get one of those pit stalls, that would be the only disadvantage. I'd say if we somehow qualified 30th, the only disadvantage we would have would be on pit road. We could make up that position, those in 500 laps on the racetrack. So, although it's important, it's not totally critical here.
Go to Shannon and end with Nate. Shannon?
Shannon Spake, ESPN. Hi, Denny. Just wondering, I know you said that there was some rust in your eye. What day were they finally able to get that rust out? Is there any irritation, pain right now? Did they give you any antibiotics just for an infection purposes?
So we went back on Monday to go over the sinus stuff, and a lot of reason that's why there was nothing said by me or anyone else after all this was going on. So we still had to clear up whether sinuses were related or not. Although at the hospital they found the metal and I felt better instantly, that doesn't mean that was the whole problem. So we had to go through 2 more days of testing in Charlotte to realize that the sinus part was okay. They got everything out on Monday. Basically around the metal, it built a rust ring. So there was like a ring of rust around it. So they needed time for that to harden for them to pick that out. So once you got that out, I felt better yet. And so that's why nothing was said for a few days, is because we're still, I don't want to be speaking out of line and not knowing exactly what I'm talking about until I know exactly what the problem was. So we didn't know that until Wednesday when we finally got cleared and they ran all the tests again to make sure that we were 100%. So, I don't need to really justify a lot to a lot of people. I think the important people are NASCAR, my team guys, and things like that. My health is my business, and so I'll give you all the facts and let you sift through them and do the best you can with them. But really, I didn't know everything that went on until Tuesday to Wednesday.
Final question, Nate.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Kind of following up on that, Denny, I think you may have answered it somewhat, but I'm sure you saw Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s comments Tuesday that he felt as if the perception was bad for you and for NASCAR, and kind of intimating that you were being left to twist in the wind a little bit and speculation and all that. Do you feel like your reputation was hurt a little bit by this? Did you hear things that upset you? And I guess that's it. I mean, I guess both of those things, if you just address that.
I'm going to try not to get mad. Like I just said, my health is my business. But what if it was cancer or tumor? I don't have to tell anyone that. It's my business. People who think negatively of me or think that, you know, we sidestep some kind of drug test or something is ridiculous. I'm in one of the top 3 cars in NASCAR. I'd have to be an absolute moron to risk that. I have a daughter that I got to provide for a really long time. And for people to question who I am inside and outside of the race car, I've never done anything to even put that in question. I go to Bobcat games. I go out and I hang out with friends out in public. I don't stay tucked in my motorhome. I don't stay tucked into my house. It's not what I like to do. So because I'm out there a little bit more, people think I go out and I party. I got a wake-up call because I don't drink at all, hardly, ever. I've never done drugs, ever. I'm as clean as they come. I don't know why people question who I am outside the racetrack, because I worked too hard to get here, for one, to throw it all away. And if anyone has any questions about that, they can ask me directly. People who assume, people think, you know, like that, because I'll tell you, but it bothers me that my character is questioned, and people think that there's some kind of conspiracy, because, like I said, I've worked too hard to get here, and it's what I've wanted to do since I was 5 years old. There's not one thing in the world that I would do to switch positions with anyone in the world, because I've just feel that lucky. And so, you know, I'm done justifying and defending myself on those things. I'm not going to let those people drag me down. It's just frustrating, because just because I'm out there a little bit more in the public, you know, it just, that bugs me, because I'm a human being, and I like doing fun things. You know, if people think I have to go out and I have to go out and drink to have fun, they're wrong. They haven't hung out with me, because I don't. So it just bothers me, because there's you know, people that like to make rumors, and of course within our NASCAR community, rumors become truth when enough people say it. And so I'm done.